let's move on then, because the second goal / Ibou Konate chat, I've put this down in my agenda because it kind of counts as one. I've seen us concede some rascal goals, Andy. Like, I've been watching this football team for a long time. I'm an old man now, relatively. I've seen our goalkeeper throw it at a striker in a cup final. I've seen everything. You know, I've seen beach balls. I've seen own goals. You name it, I've seen it happen to us. You know, back passes cut out. That might be the worst goal I've ever seen Liverpool concede. That is awful. Like, it's a big kick up the pitch that no one touches until the lad kicks it in the goal. Like, I was genuinely just baffled by how bad that was.
Yeah, it flicks off Konate's back, doesn't it? Because he's so... Is it Dan Burney's marking? He's so transfixed on the wrestling with Dan Burney. I think that is one of Konate's problems. I've always thought it, actually. He does far too much wrestling with the opposition and not enough... This is the position I need to be in to win this header. And he's a big lad, Konate. Like, he can win headers. You might not win it against Dan Burn, but at least try. And it turns out that the both of them essentially miss it. It flicks off Konate's back and they go in and score. And yeah, he's not started the season well. I'm not sure. You've seen some reports that he wants Real Madrid and he's holding out for it. Some reports that he wants to sign a new contract. You don't know if that's getting in his head, but he needs to focus himself very, very quickly here, because he's going to cost us points. He's costing us goals at the moment. Those goals will translate into points. And I think you made the point in the show a couple of weeks ago, Steve, of, you know, you think if Mark Gahey comes in, that very quickly he'll be starting a lot more games than maybe a lot of people think. I agree at the moment. First 3 months of last season, he was imperious. He was as good as Van Dijk. They were targeting down that side, and he was unbelievable. He was everything you wanted in the centre half. I don't think he's been the same player post-injury. I really, really don't. And I think if it continues like this, you know, whether or not we get Mark Gahey in, I wouldn't even mind having a look at Leone there and seeing if he's good enough. You know, there's definitely a point at which you can't throw Leone in to first choice necessarily. In a team who wants to win the league and European Cup at 18 years of age with 20 senior caps under his belt. But I'd quite like to have a look at him right now, just so Konate can sort of get his head together for a month.
It does look like the easy assumption here is Ed's in Madrid. That's just you get 1 and 1 together and get 2. I mean, his head will be in, I don't know, Morecambe if he's not, you know, Madrid aren't going to buy this one at this moment. You'd buy him at this moment. Genuinely, I've always said about Konate, I think he's really good. I do think, and I've said this a while, and people might disagree, I think some Liverpool supporters overrate him. I don't think he's as good as people sometimes make out. What he has got, unfortunately, at times, is the opposite of Virgil, is the fire in your belly, ice in your head kind of thing. He seems like firing both sometimes. Yeah. Or like, what are you doing? Like, it's not that hard in theory. Again, I'm saying this. Look at me. I'm not a footballer, but like, just track the ball. Don't worry about Dan Burn. Dan Burn's massive, and I understand it's a massive issue. And if he wins the flick on, deal with the flick on. You can't win that ball. The only two things that can happen are he beats it in the air, or everyone misses it. There's no way Konate's ever going to win. It's just impossible to win that straight ball. It just feels like it's just like decision making at times, and that's so crucial for defenders. And again, that does paint the picture of a man whose head just isn't in the game at the moment in time.
I've always said on here and on social media that Konate is a very good, very, very good centre back. Van Dijk, like he does with everyone, elevates Konate. And when Konate is playing with somebody other than Van Dijk, sometimes he can be the best. He tends to be the better one out of the both, but he's not Van Dijk. Also, what I've said about Konate plenty of time is when he's 100% focused, he's a very, very, very good centre-back. Not last season, but the season before, the back end. A lot of Liverpool fans were calling for Kwanzaa to start ahead of him because of the type of season he was having, and his head didn't look there then. That is the Konate I feel is turning out for Liverpool at the moment. We're all saying about the Madrid. He could be someone who's been badly affected by what happened to Jota. That we need to take that into account with any player who's not performing at the moment.
Yep.
That could be affecting them, but because of what's going on, the noises around it, people are automatically going to go to the Real Madrid team.
It's interesting, the Madrid thing, Andy, because this isn't new for Konate. He's had these games before. The derby a few years ago when he gets hooked off, Beto has him on toast, and the manager has to literally take him off the pitch. Like, when he's good, he's really good. Like, everyone harks back to Champions League finals and dominant games where he's been excellent. And actually, at the start of last season, he was in that form up until the injury against Madrid. He was having those type of games against like Haaland and stuff like that. Oh, right, okay, this this guy maybe gets there, he's had those, but this isn't just a new thing for Konate. He has this in his locker. That's why I'm on in all these other factors, and you're right to mention them, Madrid or obviously the tragic events, but like, this isn't new for Konate. Every now and then he can just drop one of these from out of nowhere.
He can, yeah. He definitely can. I think Ian's absolutely correct to mention that when Van Dijk's not there, we do see a different player. I think we've had issues with that really for 6 or 7 years. Thankfully, Virgil's injury record is so good, aside from assaults from Evertonians times 2. And I was worried last night when that tackle went in, just because it was standing foot, but you realise very quickly he was going to be okay. Aside from those, Van Dijk is always there when you need him, but there's times where I think Wolves at home last game a couple of seasons ago, where it's Konate and Matip, and they're all over the show. Like, the both of them are all over the show, and I would have Matip in one of my greatest Liverpool 11 in my lifetime alongside Van Dijk. I thought he was brilliant, but again, he wasn't necessarily that leader. So we've got a lot of centre halves who look good next to Van Dijk and are good as a supplementary centre half, but we don't actually have another leader really there yet. Whether that's Giovanni Leone, I don't know. But even beside Van Dijk, he's still looking ropey at the moment. And, it's not an easy game last night. It's not an easy game against Antoine Semenyo and Bournemouth, and there will be easier games coming. But we could do with him stepping up a little bit more at the moment. He's not having a good time with it.
The goal's a stinker. Like, don't get me wrong, but I was even a little bit concerned in the first half. Like, he gets the yellow card early for the drag back because he gets beat. He dives in for a ball, and because he's on a yellow card, he can't foul the lad, and he's away. Andy Gordon at one point rolls him for strength, which is just like that for me. Again, it just, there's obviously something not quite right, but it might just be, like I said, there's a million different reasons what's going on, but at this moment in time, like, he needs to book his ideas up, like he really does. Like, there's a potential for a new centre half. We hope there's going to be a new centre half in. Even if there's not, and he's going to continue to be first choice, Andy's right, that this will eventually bite you in the arse. Liverpool, in a way, as I want to say, not fortunate, but like, we've got so much firepower. Liverpool haven't played particularly great in 2 games when they've scored 7 goals because they've got so much firepower and attacking threat. But at some point, you need your centre halves to be a bit more commanding and a bit more at it. And for the fella next to him to be in such good nick, especially yesterday, it only highlights the issues that Ibou's having, where he hasn't actually really played against a good centre forward yet. With all due respect, Evan Nielsen and Andy Gordon, they're good footballers, but I wouldn't say Andy Gordon's a winger and Evan Nielsen's absolutely fine. And yet, it's been worrying, especially with what's to come next week, where you are going to be playing against good players. There's clearly going to be a target on Ibou Konate's back, because why wouldn't? If you're Gyökeres, you're going nowhere near Van Dijk. No. If you're Eze, probably on that left-hand side, perhaps getting in your first ever game, you're probably going to go and target that Ibou Konate space, because teams have enjoyed with it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk about us going after a certain striker at the minute. Konate is showing right now that guy should be our priority, like massively. Like because something else he is, where you've just mentioned yourself, is he's a leader. He's been a leader for Crystal Palace, and that's what we need a centre back with. Van Dijk isn't there. Konate as well, for me, he's not somebody that plays himself into form. He's getting to a point now where I think he needs to come out, and I think if we had more options there, he probably would have come out by now. We don't want to throw an 18-year-old in there, especially in that atmosphere last night. But I think I tweeted out last night, on 1 game away with Konate, with wanting Giovanni Leone thrown in.
And I think I think you mentioned it there, Ian. There were Kwanzaa's playing towards the end of Klopp's last season, and people forget that Konate wasn't injured there. He was on the bench for the last 5 or 6 games. Kwanzaa is the first choice, and was rightly first choice, not only because Kwanzaa was to be fair, playing really well that season. It wasn't the Kwanzaa we saw last year, but Konate wasn't playing well, and he was taken out. And I remember a game against Crystal Palace where it's a game we lost and essentially threw away the league at that point, where he's so poor in the ball. Now, I actually do think he's gotten better in the ball over the last season or so. And he's decent on the ball last night. That wasn't the issue. It was the defensive side of things. But, at various different stages of his Liverpool career, he's been lacking in something and just needs to be taken out. If we're sitting here in 2 months' time, I wouldn't be shocked if we're talking about him being absolutely imperious again. And, maybe he just needs the transfer window to close, put that out of his head, get the contract situation sorted one way or another. It might just be that, but yeah, right now it would be nice to have a Mark Gahey, somebody of just a similar level, who just throw in there, take Konate out of the limelight, and I suppose if we don't get Gay, it'll depend on how they see Giovanni Leone at this point of his career.
Yeah, to wrap up on him very quickly, because this isn't the blame Ibou Konate for Liverpool's problems. It was more than that. But what I would say is, like, he's a very streaky player. Like, when he's good, he's like 8s and 9s all the time, and when he's bad, it's poor. He just needs to, again, he's relatively young, he's played a lot of games now, that level of consistency where, yeah, I don't always have to be at my best to play well, I can just get through games and manage it. I think that's right, because when his bad streaks are really bad, but his hot streaks are amazing. I go back to the start of last season, he comes in against Ipswich, and up until he got injured, I thought for the most part he was spectacular, so he does have these up and down moments in form.
What I will say about Konate as well, though, is like, the start of this season, we didn't play particularly well midfield wise, because we didn't have Gravenberch in last week, and yesterday was just, I don't think we're playing another game like we played last night at all. So he's not terrible, but I do think he's struggling right now. He's
like I say, whatever it is, he needs to get out of it, because it's not going particularly well for him. But like I say, early days in the season, you give everyone a chance to improve and get better, and like I say, get used to your surroundings. That was a clip from the Final Word show. If you'd like to check out the full show, head on over to redmenplus.com.